the limits of debate in this country are established before the debate even begins, and everyone else is marginalized. They're made to seem either to be communist or some sort of disloyal person, a kook, there's a word, and now it's conspiracy. See, they've made that something that should not be even entertained for a minute, that powerful people might get together and have a plan. Doesn't happen. You're a kook. You're a conspiracy buff.
Hi, welcome to Truther Talk. I'm April Bowden.
And I'm Virstyne Henry.
You were just listening to the one and only George Carlin, comedic genius. He's talking about conspiracies and conspiracy theorists, or conspiracy realists, more accurately, how we like to refer to it here at Truther Talk.
Definitely, because, last week we were talking about how astute comedians are, and because it's their job to be observant. And the truest, the funniest things are the most true. Usually, right? We were talking about the Simpsons episode where he's like banging his knee and he's saying, remember that? He's like, Homer's like, yeah, it's funny because it's true.
I mean, it's kind of the rule of comedy. The Simpsons themselves they're over the top, but there's a lot of accuracy and, depictions of society and stuff. But, I mean, all the great stand-up comics like George Carlin and Bill Hicks and Louis C.K., I mean, they all tap into that knowing of society and what's going on, be it political awareness or like what's going on in your family in the home. It's something that they really are good at, and that's what makes it funny. And we cry and we laugh at the same time, because sometimes it's tragically.
Yeah,
true.
You have to laugh to keep from crying.
Yeah, it's just But I mean, George Carlin really understood. Rest his soul. He really understood the world. He had a very good grasp on that, or at least I think he did, and he knew that the conspiracy theorist, I mean, that was sort of used as a divisive word or to discredit people.
It's like a book now, I would say. It's like it's like
a scarlet letter,
and
definitely. So he tapped into that. So he didn't use the term conspiracy realist, but I would say that that's kind of what he was driving at when he was talking about that. And so conspiracy realist is something that we like so much. We like that term so much that it is the title of our show today. It is also the logo that is on our first shirt, which is available for purchase at www.truthertees.com. This was inspired by the conspiracy realist himself, as far as we know. That's the first place we've ever heard it, was the conspiracy realist himself, investigative journalist Liam Scheff. Liam is our guest today. He is also the co-host of the Robert Scott Bell Show on Natural News Radio, and the author of a brand new book, The Official Stories, which is available for purchase at CreateSpace and Amazon.com. Both Virstyne and I have read the book. We loved it. We're very excited. Yeah, we thought it was fantastic. Funny, informative. Yes. We'll talk about it. We're very excited to talk about it with Liam today because we did really, really enjoy it. And we will also be having an offer on our website where we'll be giving away some free copies of the book. More on that to come. We don't have them yet. We'll be making announcements here on the radio and also on all of our social networking sites, Facebook, Twitter, maybe even YouTube, I don't know. And definitely check that out. Our website, of course, will have that information. So just keep checking back with us, and we'll let you know when you can get how you can get a free copy of Liam's book, and more details on that to come. So Liam will also be in attendance this weekend at the Health Freedom Expo in Chicago. He'll be selling his book and our shirt that he inspired, or giving it away. He'll be doing something with it. We don't exactly know.
Ooh. But I know where your mind's going.
I didn't say
he's going to be doing something with it. What do you usually do with the book? Don't you read it? There are other things you can do with. Just kidding.
No, I was talking about our shirt. He's going to be selling his book. I don't know what he's going to be doing with our shirt.
I've just been on an island for 2 years. That's okay.
So if you're in the Chicago area, please go see Liam. He's going to be at the Health Freedom Expo that he'll be talking about with Robert. Robert Scott Bell is going to be there too. And they'll be doing their usual talk on the health freedom talk, and he'll be giving some talks, I think, on vaccines and HIV testing and all that kind of interesting stuff that's in his book. So please go check that out. Now, without further ado, welcome to our show, the conspiracy realist himself, Liam Scheff. Hi, Liam.
Liam couldn't be here. This is Peter Venkman from the 1980s cartoon Ghostbusters.
Liam
could not be here today.
Okay, so Vankman's sitting in for Liam.
Yeah.
So we have, so tell us, did you really get slimed?
I did. It was really kind of a disturbing experience. You know, it wasn't real slime, it's an industrial jojoba.
Really?
Yeah, they lay it on us there.
Sliming cures male pattern baldness. Yeah.
Well, apparently for Peter Venkman it didn't work.
Oh. Yeah, that's unfortunate. But that doesn't matter.
Yeah, he's wealthy. He's a zombie. They killed him in that movie, you know.
Is that right?
Yes, it's right. It's Liam. Look, it's me under the Venkman mask.
Oh, really? There was, because I was actually looking forward to having your fill-in, Peter Venkman.
You know what? Anytime you need me to be Bill Murray from Caddyshack, just go ahead. Say the word, you dirty little what?
What?
I know you, Mrs. Thomas. Look at you there, teasing, leading me on.
All right.
All right.
Hey, we need to get professional. That's what we need to do.
Okay.
Professionalness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi. How are you?
Hi.
I love it. Okay. That was interesting. Well, so tell us about your book.
Oh, are we still recording? Fine.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Liam Venkman. This is Peter Scheff. This is Liam Scheff.
No, we loved your book, Liam.
Yeah, it was really good.
I'm on with my make-believe future ex-girlfriends, April, Bowden, and Virstyne Henry.
Oh, stop it, you. Well, as long as it's make-believe, I suppose that's okay.
Well, it's only make-believe if some people are trying not to participate.
I love lamp. Okay. That's my go-to. That's my go-to when I run out of
I ate a chocolate squirrel.
I love carpet.
Oh my God. Okay, what's the first question, April?
I ate a chocolate squirrel. I think that's his only funny role. I'm on record. You can blacklist me, Hollywood. I think that's his only funny performance. Thank you.
Which?
That actor. Well, I guess he was funny as the Virgin too.
Oh yeah. Well, no, I think that was hilarious. You don't think Steve Carell is funny?
I think he's funny.
That's right. I already had this conversation with you. Go ahead.
Limited doses. I think that character in Anchorman's one of the funnier characters that's been put on. They don't use celluloid anymore on digital. What is digital? Nothing is real.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Hmm.
Hey, I wrote a book. You're reviewing
it. You read it.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, not mine, but April's. April's, yes.
Yeah, April's review is in the front.
Mm-hmm.
Because she sent me a gift. She sent me some. My favorite thing is, of course, a vegetarian or. I don't like the word vegan, but she sends me carrot cakes. She's a good cook. She's really good carrot cake.
I do. I use different kinds of flour.
Overnight delivery. $160 to get it, but she sends it every week.
Yeah.
April, you're so nice.
I know. I should send some to you in Taiwan.
Yes.
Or when you get back, I'll bake.
I'll
bake for you.
I try to flirt with Virstyne, but she thinks I'm kidding. She just laughs. All right. Anyway, the book.
Well, we know you.
Yeah.
Okay.
The book is it's really successful. The biggest compliment I get is, "You sound like the guy from the cartoon Ghostbusters."
Sorry, I'm sorry. I liked him though. It was a compliment. That was my favorite character.
That was one of the central characters of my coming of age. I think I read. Let's see. I read a little Thackeray, and there was Ghostbusters, the cartoon, the series, the animated series.
No, remember, not the one with the monkey, but the real one.
One with a monkey?
There was the real Ghostbusters. There were two Ghostbusters, but the real one, the real Ghostbusters.
Yes, that's that why they called it the... We're getting down to business here on the V&A show. What is your show called? Truth or Tease? Truth Out?
Talk. Truth or Talk.
The V&A show. I'm here on the V&A show with Victoria and April, Virstyne and April. What are you guys? How's it going for you? How's your show?
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. We laugh a lot.
It's great.
A lot.
Yeah.
We learn and we laugh a lot. It's great.
Except.
Yeah, because we're obsessed with animals with guns, so we laugh a lot about that.
Yeah.
Probably more than most people would. But
What's the movie? There's a movie version of your show coming.
Oh yeah, that'll be coming out. I'll be putting something up on the tubers.
In a world.
The Twitter tubes in a world.
Chomper, starring Chomper the shark, the great white shark with like ninja. He does karate with swords, and he has like guns.
Yeah, and so there's going to be all the big wigs are going to be in it. Henry Kissinger as himself.
Hi.
Yeah, Zygmunt Zubinski as himself.
They sound the same.
Exactly.
And when it's Bill Hellgate.
Bill Gates will be doing a dual role. He'll be playing himself, and he'll be playing Lizardo, the Lizard King of the evil animal army, the New World Order evil animal army. So it's a good one. That's our.
I am Lizardo.
Right?
I want you to reboot when I say so. On 3. 1, 2, 3. No, on 3. Lizardo.
All right. I'm auditioning live.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, we'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that.
The world where
there's a problem here.
And who's the hero? It's a small kitten with a gun.
Yeah, New World Order fighting kitty. I haven't really given him a name.
Yeah, we're still thinking. But Kissinger says like, oh, but kitty, you're going to be the best.
And then he does that, and then he goes, no, I'll never be with you, Kissinger. That's just a little taste for you guys, okay?
Oh my God.
We'll see.
You've committed.
I know. These are the kinds of thoughts I have.
Got to get the animals involved. Everybody, even the animals.
Yeah, these are the kind of And so when he says, "Oh, military people are just nothing but animals," and I'm like, "Yes, we're animals."
Right here, I'll do Kissinger and you do the cat.
Okay.
and I'll do Nixon too. All right.
All right.
Mr. President, the pussies are attacking from all sides. What do you mean? That's you go.
Yeah, what gonna get you? You'll never have your new word.
Mr. President, I've heard better. I've seen better. All right, never. I was gonna go for a Playboy Club joke, but I decided not to.
No.
Oh no. You've seen better than mine because you haven't seen it.
What? Power, Mr. President, power is the ultimate aphrodisiac. Henry, the Jews, the Jews. Did you ever listen to the tapes that he made?
No.
Nixon?
No.
Yeah. The variety of Watergate and White House tapes. They're fascinating.
I like the one where we talk. I like the Bohemian Grove tape.
I don't know that one, but you.
Oh.
No, I'll listen to it. But you do get Nixon talking to Kissinger and Kissinger talking to Nixon and said, "Hello, Mr. President, it's good, Henry." And Nixon says, "Well, we want to bomb Vietnam, but we better do it during the weekend. Slow news cycle." You know, he like talks about the news cycle about when to blow up overseas. And Nixon says, "Oh, I don't know, hippies, Jews."
Are you what?
Yeah.
Wow. This is diabolical.
No, it's excellent. It's great comedy. You have to go to the what's it called? The Watergate tapes. The Watergate tapes. There's a name.
The Watergate tapes. I don't know. I mean, there's various ones. There's so many hours of Nixon tapes. I mean, you can't possibly listen to them all. But I listened to him talking about Bohemian Grove, and he really uses a lot of foul language. When he was all alone, he was a potty mouth.
And he talked about the Jews, and he talked about the blacks, and he talked about the hippies, and he talked...
Well, everybody talks about the blacks.
He talks about the gays. He talks about the gayness.
Oh, the white folks. Do you know this song? Oh, the white folks hate the black folks, and the black folks hate the white folks. To hate all but the right folks is an old established rule, but during National Brotherhood Week, you should play it for your song. It's an old Tom Lehrer bit.
Send it to me, yeah.
The Protestants hate the Catholics, and the Catholics hate the Protestants, and the Hindus hate the Muslims, and everybody hates the Jews, but during National Brotherhood Week.
I like stuff like that. Send it to me. I will definitely.
It's Tom Lehrer. Tom Lehrer was it still is alive. People use the word brilliant too much. He was a very, very talented ragtime classical piano player who managed to put these sort of heavy piano parts or very light funny lyrics about what we would now call the New World Order. Then it was just politics. But he has a song called Send the Marines. You can play it at any rally. When someone makes a move of which we don't approve, who is it who always intervenes? UN and OAS, they have their place, I guess. But first, send the Marines. And here's the line. To the shores of Tripoli, but not to Mississippi, because it was the race riots, right? So never mind what's happening here with Send the Marines. For might makes right until they've seen the light. They've got to be protected, all their rights respected, till somebody we like can get elected.
Wow.
I know. 64.
It's funny but profound, you know. You know, hey, what do you think about that? Because
it's true.
It's funny because it's true. What do you think about that, Liam? Because April described you as being part like comedian, but part investigative journalist. And most investigative journalists that I've run into, they're really serious.
When did I say that?
Yeah, I know I'm being general, but we were saying that, you know, and we were talking about how comedians are really astute, you know, because it's their job to be observant and to seek truth, and usually because the funniest things are usually true.
Remember
so what do you
comedy?
think about that?
Yeah, remember, you know, George Bernard Shaw was always talked about that. It's funny. Essentially, if it's funny, there's a bit of truth in it, and if it makes you uncomfortable, it and makes you laugh, it's probably because, you know, the truth is the funniest thing you can say, and the thing that least people will believe. George Bernard Shaw said it more eloquently and more quickly, and I'll just look up George Bernard Shaw quotes as I'm vamping. But like comedy should be offensive. It should be a little bit frightening. It should shake you up. You can watch Bill Hicks, and when he's not funny, he's not. But when he really gets it, and he's looking at you, and he does back and to the left, back and to the left, back and to the left, over and over again, you laugh because you know it's true. You know you're not supposed to laugh at it. You're not supposed to talk about it. There is a guy on stage wearing black, smoking cigarettes, going, "What are we, frickin' stupid?"
Yeah.
It's obvious, everybody.
Right.
And I didn't grow up with Bill Hicks. I grew up. My guys were, when I was very young, were George Carlin, and then I kind of grew out of that. He's very cynical, and I'm not cynical. And then it was Richard Pryor, and Richard Pryor was sensible to me because he brought the other side of the tracks, and he said, "Look, everybody, this is all of us. This is what's coming for all of us. We all have these human parts, and we also all know what it's like to be under." I loved him. He told more political truth in a personal story than Lenny Bruce, I think, told in his political stuff. But I love and admire Richard Pryor.
Yeah, Paul Mooney too. Even though he did a lot of writing, right, mostly.
He did a lot of writing for Richard.
Yeah, Richard Pryor. Yeah.
And Paul's a very bitter. I think Paul's. I just look at him and go, "You're a gay dude, right? I mean, that's why you're so angry." He's just so clean, and he speaks as though he's a Queen of England. You know, he's like.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah,
it's funny because it's true.
It is funny because it's true.
That's what you can call this show. It's funny because it's true.
It's true because it's true.
Just this episode.
Right.
Remember episodes on TV used to have like names, and you'd look it up in TV Guide. Richie has a problem with dates. Fonzie teaches Chachi about, you know, it'd have like a little.
I forgot about TV Guide.
Yeah.
You make me so old, Liam. Stop it.
Does everybody know Virstyne? I'm not to the point where I'm comfortable joking with her. April, how cute is she on a scale? April's adorable, but she's giving me hugs. But Virstyne, how cute is Virstyne on a 1 to 10 scale? Sort of neat.
Oh, she's at 11.
Yeah, exactly.
Aww.
All right, shut up, Virstyne, with your cuteness. Pipe down. Can't think.
Wretchedly ugly when I was a child, so
Thank God.
I think that's why I'm humble. I had like a lazy eye and like
excuse.
But yeah, well, I was it was pretty
You had surgery.
I had a lazy eye fix. It had to go.
Yeah, you had a corrective surgery.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're a bionic woman.
Yeah, I am.
Mm-hmm.
April, where's my cake?
I love carpet.
April anytime.
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. So who are your comedians growing up? We're going to do political comedians now.
Richard Pryor, yeah. Eddie
Richard
Murphy. Mm-hmm. Eddie Murphy. I didn't really get into George Carlin until I was older.
He is a cynical son of a mother.
I always loved George Carlin, and I loved. I was one of those kids who stayed up till 3 in the morning watching. Remember the show back in the 80s, the HBO Comedy Hour?
Yeah.
Do you kind of remember that? We got cable, and I would watch and then there was a show hosted by Rodney Dangerfield that he was the host of the show, but he would bring on all these stand-up acts and people from his, and it was just, I grew up on that, so it's no wonder that I have the dirty mouth that I do, because how can you unknow it once you know it? Once you hear Rodney Dangerfield, it's done deal.
Mom's Mabley. You ever heard of Mom's Mabley?
Yeah, I know Mom's Mabley.
Yeah, my dad would let me. She was pretty funny.
She's raunchy.
Yeah. But well, actually, my dad didn't let me. I'd like sneak and listen.
Right.
to her stuff, but yeah.
Well, when we were growing up, it was what I'd consider sort of borderline sort of white bread stuff. Even though it was funny in the 70s and early 80s. Remember Robin Williams? He's very funny and he talked very fast and he talked like this and he talked to his penis and everything was fun. And that was Robin Williams, and you listened to him in the 80s, and it was all cocaine jokes without talking about cocaine.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's what he did.
Right. He still seemed like he was on coke, though, after he was done. I don't know if that was just because he'd established that character, and so then he had to just stick with it. Because supposedly he was clean, but he still acted like
I think it takes a little while for it to come out of the system. I saw a guy called Craig Ferguson who's very funny, raunchy, late night.
Yeah.
And he's been doing comedy in Scotland, which is a small island on the dark side of the moon, apparently. Because if you ever watch, hi Scotland, if you ever watch his stuff like from the 80s, he seems insane. He's fat, and now he's not. And he's clearly on drugs, and he comes out and he stares at the audience with his eyes just bugging out of his head, and he goes, well, and the rest is up for grabs.
Yeah, I see.
Jesus,
he's good. I like him. I do.
I like Conan O'Brien.
I like them.
Well, I'm anti-Conan. I'm pro-Craig, so that's our first.
Are you
again.
serious? Oh, I don't think we can be friends. And Conan and I, we have the same birthday.
I think we could be lovers, not friends. I'm going to go with that.
Okay. But not friends, because you don't like Conan.
No. Frenemies.
I like all the OG like Saturday Night Live crew. I like that too. When it first came out. You know, like Gilda Radner and like Bill Murray and Eddie Murphy and Steve Martin and those. Well,
Bill Murray's the guy, but my favorite SNL crew is the Phil Hartman crew.
Yeah.
Did you die like a million deaths when his stupid frickin' wife shot him?
That was.
Oh, you know what? I really did, but I think that was pharmaceutical induced.
Right.
I think it was an FDA approved murder.
Murder
suicide.
I like that. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna take that. I mean that term. That's great. Yeah.
The FDA. Yeah, I like that FDA approved murder. That's great.
Like I'm making notes.
Yeah, definitely, because she was an alcoholic, and she was known on these psychotic drugs.
Oh my God, she was a Prozac killing.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Holy crap.
Yeah, and so, because when things like that happen, I always think that is probably the case, because it's such abnormal human behavior. And sure, there are crazy people. I'm not going to say there isn't, and there isn't times when people just go nuts and they start to do that. But I swear, I don't know exact number, but I'm going to go out and say like 9 out of 10, they're on some kind of meds. They're on Prozac or whatever. When it's just somebody out of the blue, and they're just and they kill their husband and their family, and it's just were they on she had postpartum depression, and she was on these kind of antipsychotic or antidepressant drugs, and she had a drinking problem, and then when mixed with drinking it causes psychotic behavior. That was the case with Phil Hartman's wife, and I read that back then, and I was like, oh, lovely. So a doctor gave her drugs knowing that one of the side effects was when mixed with alcohol it caused psychotic behavior, and she was a recovering alcoholic. So way to go, doc. I loved
Phil Hartman. My friend Jeffrey and I we had actually a whole thing worked out. We were going to have this alternative legion of superheroes that was all sort of based, like, done for we had nobody steal this, or I will come to your house and I will punch you in the
we're recording it.
Oh, thank Kitty.
I will
we gotta
gonad.
name her. We gotta name the kitty.
You're gonna have a gonad shot if you steal this idea. Right to the right to the baby. We had all kinds of characters, and one. I swear to God, if somebody steals this, I will not kill you, but I will threaten to.
New World Order kitty will come with her AK-47.
We had all kinds of we had superheroes that were based. We had a woman whose superpower was that her menstrual cycle was just vicious, you know, and it would just become totally overwhelming to everybody to be around her.
Oh my God, that's so true. It's funny because it's true.
And we had another guy with superpowers, but he was so depressed he just didn't care about using them. He was sort of like a Spider-Man or a Green Lantern. He's like, yeah, I guess I could use my powers, but what's the point?
It's never too late. It's never too late.
Oh God, that reminds me that
2012 is coming up. You never know. We might not live to see tomorrow. You better get on it.
I'm already betting that the people will come and tell me how it was supposed to be 2013, but they carried the one wrong. But Phil Hartman was big in our wheelhouse at that point. We were always, he was always doing the American announcer. Hi, you might remember me from some, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Totally,
and he was on The Simpsons. What was his name on The Simpsons?
He played a number of different characters. He was the
Lionel Hutz.
Lionel Hutz, the lawyer, and then he was somebody else too. He was like
actor Troy McClure.
Yeah, Troy McClure. That was it.
Totally, I remember that.
You might remember me from such films as Killer Baboons from Planet Xenon.
Right. Yeah, because actors they used to do that back in those days.
I know.
They used to say that. You might remember me from blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the 70s thing, or like early 80s.
You might remember me. You might know me from such movies as Cinderella, The Happy Laughing Story, and
exactly. And
special guest stars on Fantasy Island.
Yes.
But I'm here to talk about intestinal gas and bloating.
Yes, exactly. No, he was really good. And then I saw this interview with him that he was talking about how he got hired to do SNL, and his audition tape, he had the whole crew. It was like Dennis Miller and everybody. He had to sit in front of them, and they were saying, well, what do you got? Like, what can you do? And he says, well, I can do impressions. And so Dennis Miller says, okay, well, go ahead and do French. And he's like, I don't do French.
Yeah, I saw that. No, that's on his audition. You can watch his audition stuff.
Oh, is that really? I didn't know that. I heard that. I just thought that's so him. That's so.
Yeah, I don't do French.
I don't do French. Yeah. That was just
hey, Bobby, do some French. That makes more sense than the time that Josephine and Napoleon got. Well, shut up, dude. Mm-hmm. Shut up. When did he become a strange right-winger, Dennis Miller?
I don't know.
They dragged him into the political world. I mean, he always did kind of political humor, but he was like having news shows and things like that. How about Al Franken, former SNL writer, working in Washington?
Meth and cocaine. Senator. From Minnesota.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess that you do enough political humor, and then they think that you're qualified to be a senator. But
as I say in my book.
Oh, that's right. I heard you wrote a book.
Sorry, that was kind of.
Maybe we should talk about your book.
That was so gay I slipped on it when I just dropped it. I said that in the 8th grade way. Write your letters of anger to the Truth or Tease Talk.
To Liam Scheff at
robertscottbell.com.
Yeah.
That was so. As I say in my book, all these guys play in the same sandboxes, right? So if you're Al Franken and you write a book about Rush Limbaugh and people say, that was really smart, you say, well, thank you. Thanks, I really appreciate it. And you'll start believing that you are good enough, smart enough, and people like you. And they say, you should run for office. I should run for office. I should run for office. And then it becomes a contested election, and you actually hire lawyers to do exactly what you just made fun of everybody else for doing, which is not caring about anything about politics or what people say, but about the game and winning. So name something that Al Franken's done. Go ahead.
And there you have it. Exactly. No, I saw him on a tuber on a Twitter tubes. I don't know what he was doing. I think he was just talking. I don't know. He was talking about the war. He was basically against it. But I mean, I don't know what he's done other than talking. I'm supposing he's making everybody laugh.
Yeah, I mean, these guys famously did more drugs than a lot of people. This is the early SNL group. He was a writer with them. And
they're well known for that.
Yeah, well known for putting everything up their nose and wherever else. And that's.
It must be really stressful though too, like having to put a funny show out every week and be funny live.
You're doing it.
We're not doing it live. And who says we're not doing drugs?
And who says it's funny?
I like to rock and roll all night and part of every day, just part. Because I like to take a nap around 12.
Let's be honest though, that early show wasn't funny except for the greatest hits stuff that you see. It was live. And it was live on television. Like, we'd watch it live.
No, exciting. Yeah, it was new. It was for Liam and our generation, Virstyne, you're a little younger than us, but it was sort of kind of risque. Like, we were kids, and there was something about this show that came on at close to midnight, and it just, and you didn't really see stuff like that. I mean, back then, you didn't have 24-hour TV. I mean, it wasn't, or you did, but I mean, it was, they play like the national things like that. So it was kind of, I just remember feeling that it was sort of risque and different, and what we were introduced to Andy Kaufman and all these like bizarre people that we'd never seen before.
Well, it was that New York CBGB punk,
exactly.
60s crowd. This was these were the sort of herpes, gonorrhea, syphilitic refuse of the 60s. It was no longer bright and sunny and summer of love. It was a giant mess. And these guys were more or less doing news for us from what life was like on the inside. Mm-hmm. And they said that everything you see during the day on TV is a lie. It's all fake. And we're going to be disgusting and talk. We're going to do sex and snot jokes and be immature. And I mean, somehow, listen, this is how strange America is as a place. Somehow Dan Aykroyd, who's Canadian by way of Poland probably, and John Belushi, who's American or Canadian by way of like Lithuania or some such place as that, passed for blues musicians.
Oh my gosh, my parents actually saw them in concert. I remember that.
I know.
They went,
really?
Yeah,
concerts?
For real, they opened for The Who. How's that?
What?
They opened for The Who.
I mean, I like the movie. Like growing up, you're a kid, you're like, oh, it's so, but like they toured and put on.
No, they toured, and John Belushi could do backflips. I mean, he was pretty limber for a fat guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he could do backflips and he could dance and he could. I mean, so just like Chris Farley, who sort of impersonated him, but Chris Farley was a sweet, lovable where John Belushi was a dark, kind of more hateful, twisted. Yeah.
Angry.
And he was more of an angry guy. I mean, they both died the same way, but they had but Farley was just adorable. I mean, he was like, I would just love to just give him a big hug because he was just the cutest little thing or big thing.
he played himself when he would do the Chris Farley show on the Saturday Night Live, and he would interview people, and he would say, "Oh, you remember when you were in the that movie?"
Yeah. Oh. When he interviewed Paul McCartney, that was the best. Remember that time that you wrote that song? Remember when you were with the Beatles?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
And then you wrote that song, and in the end, the love you make is equal to the love you take. You remember that?
Yeah, Chris, I do. I remember that.
Is that true?
I have found it to be true, Chris. That the more you give, the more you get. And then he said,
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, love that guy. It's sad. It's sad, really.
It is sad that people take too many drugs. He clearly had a number of issues. He also had brothers who weren't as talented, who tried to capitalize on all of that.
It must be, a lot of comedians seem to lead dark lives, even though it's funny how the irony of that,
You don't get into comedy because you have a wonderful child.
Exactly. Exactly. That's sort of the recipe for it. It's like, because that's your defense mechanism. You have a horrible childhood. You laugh because it's tragic. And
but not everybody that has a horrible childhood turns dark. People deal with it differently.
Yeah.
Mm. You mean they like Michael Jackson? He turned white.
No, but I mean, like, people feel like,
He had a terrible childhood.
He really did.
I don't blame the doctor who gave him the drugs, by the way. I blame his father, who beat the crap out of all the kids and prostituted his little children for to be America's sweethearts. And then, I mean, I look at Michael Jackson, I think that guy was gay and wasn't allowed to be, and that creates all sorts of psychosis, as I talk about in the book.
I don't remember a Michael Jackson chapter.
No, it's all chapter 6, the HIV, the Scarlet Letter, when I talk about what the suppression of gay identity, leading to this ghettoization of it, leading to the massive isolation among men is drug use, antibiotics, too much sex, leading to illness. So a little bit. All right. Anyway, back to comedy.
No. What I like about your writing and what I like about your book and what I like about your articles is that
and me and my hugs.
Your hugs are a little different, but no, I like your hugs too. You're very sweet, my good friend. But no, what I like about it is that it's funny. It's witty. It's sardonic. It's clever. But it's informative. You've researched a lot. You've been around. You have done a lot of work, and you get a sense of that. But you also managed to make it readable, because it's funny, and that's what I was telling Virstyne, and she was then said that I said you were kind of between a journalist and a comic, because you don't get that a lot. It's very unique. Most journalists, it's more like a text, and or they try to, and then they kind of try to be objective. They never really are. But you don't really try. You just kind of come out with it. It's really, I can't imagine how you can write about these things and then say, well, I don't have an opinion on it.
Yeah, definitely.
How would you, I don't know. How could you write about vaccines?
Virstyne, how did I do it? Go ahead.
What do you mean, how did you
I just want
write
you to answer the question.
Without being objective? You're just
I don't believe in objectivity. Go ahead.
You just went with your feelings. You just, you were honest. You were, like, no human person can do the research that you've done and experience the things that you've experienced and wrote about and like not take sides or not have an idea or a thought about it. How do you? I mean, I don't know. I'm not you, but I'm just, how do you?
I agree with all of the compliments, and now I can see the bad guys saying, they said that Liam wasn't objective. Nobody's objective. Nobody's objective.
Right.
It's a myth.
Yeah. No, it's a myth, exactly. That's why I'm saying nobody really is. And they try to be. They act like they are. But that's a lie, because it's just impossible.
Right. Yeah. So when NPR reports their news, they say, today we report that in Syria. Well, before they say that, they've decided what not to report.
Yeah,
they've decided to leave out almost everything, and they've cut a little piece of a giant cake, and they've given you a tiny sliver, and they said, this is the news. Why should I do that? I'm going to tell you all of the details that are excised from that cake. My job is to show you the rest. Here's the official story. JFK was shot by a lone nut in Dallas in October of '63. And that's the official story, right? Okay, October, JFK, lone nut. Oh, and then you have to argue about sort of whether it's true or not. But the bottom line is, of course, it's not true. It's an official story. And this was going on in my head a few years ago when I said, how is it that no matter what the bad guys say, it's never true? Whenever Time Life or somebody comes up and says, why, let me think. Hold on a second. I'm trying to get at it. Official stories protect somebody. Official stories protect who? Official stories protect the people who tell them. Official stories protect officials. It came to me. It just took a little while. And then I went, sorry, November. That's why my head was slowing down. November of '63. The Kennedy assassination. So that was before my time, your time, and Virstyne's time. But the information is there. You look it up. We come into the world. We're told that this happened. This president was assassinated this way. You have to move forward in your life. Your parents are giving you a hard time. They're getting a divorce. Whatever's happening. You don't have time to look 8, 10, 15 years back. You don't get time to look at that stuff until you're away from the people who are raising you. The people who are raising you have one thing in mind. Number one, hopefully that you don't die. Hopefully, maybe. Right. Number two, that they don't get sued in case you do die. So they have two things going on.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't have time to ask all these questions when you're coming up. You then burst out of this world. I just got an email from somebody who met me or knew me when I was like 20, 21. I said, I wasn't even me yet. I was like in that in-between space. Yeah. I was coming out of the November 22nd, 63. I was coming out of that place where I had to vomit out all the indoctrination or rip these splinters out of my body and really replace it with so much. And it was 10 years, all of my 20s, replacing information. So objective, I don't believe official stories. That's my thesis. The other thing news agencies pretend to do, I'm almost done with my rant too. The only thing news agencies pretend to do is they pretend to be objective. In other words, they're not going to differ from the official story too much. That's what objective means. We've received the official story. We're not going to challenge it too much. That's the only thing objective means. Now, if I get out and I say, so-and-so is a filthy C word, I hope they get hit by a bus, that's just hateful. But if I say Lee Harvey Oswald was claimed to be a lone nut assassin, let's just assume that that's not true, and let's dig beneath the surface. Is there any evidence that he was not okay. He's ex-military, he's ex-Marine, he spoke Russian, he was trained in Russian in the Marines. He operated radio equipment at a CIA air base in Atsugi, Japan. He defected from the United States to the Soviet Union at the height of the Cold War, after the Bay of Pigs, before the 13 days of the Cuban Missile Crisis, then came back after the Cuban Missile Crisis, was allowed back in the country, and was given leave and money to come be an American citizen again. I think some 15 months later, he shoots the President of the United States in Dallas. Oh, wait a second. Lone nut assassin? No. Military, covert, CIA, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I work from the premise that all the official stories are not true, and that's where I go from.
Well, when you talked about 9/11, that was kind of my experience when I was starting to question the official story, was because I was watching it on History Channel, and they really give you the official story, and they kind of make it out that anyone who questions it has a paranoid schizophrenia or any of these kinds of delusional thoughts. That's their approach, supporting the official story. This was 6 or 7 years ago. But the more that they were telling me what happened or what they claimed to happen, the more I was going, I don't believe that. Like, you're trying to tell me that they used box cutters and I didn't know that. And then you're claiming that they used to take down these planes. And then what happened? And then when I heard about Building 7, I went, what? Like, I don't know how you can know that and then still believe the official story. I really don't. Like, how can you think that this building goes down all by itself and it's completely impossible and to go down all by itself like that, and you still believe them?
I'm curious, Liam, just knowing the stuff that you know now. I mean, like, how have you found the balance between living in the old reality and then, like, this reality that you know now? How do you balance that? Because I'm sure that you run into people that still are kind of like in the old realm or the old reality, as opposed to the stuff that you know now. Like, how do you deal with that?
Well, I mostly hang out with people that I can talk with about these things. That's the benefit of the new electro. To use my friend, Facebook friend Faith Dyson's, she talks about the electro smog. We are impacted by electrosmog, that's true, but we are connected to, in the sense of forming a little tribal community that doesn't believe official stories, or that we're not conspiracy theorists. Give me a break. Conspiracy, that's just another word for non-disclosure agreement. Give me a break. Enron, WorldCom, Clinton, Watergate, every other thing, Nancy Pelosi, airplane, $75,000. Give me a break. Conspiracy theory, conspiracy realist. This is the reality. This is where we live. That's how it works now. So how do I get by? I have a different worldview than a lot of people. I don't I think that I don't have a Judeo-Christian worldview. The reality to me is, in the Judeo-Christian model, which I grew up in and really suffered with, you're supposed to think that if things don't get better or you're not winning the fight against evil, then things are a total failure. But the Eastern philosophy says this world is an illusion anyway. You fight the fight you're supposed to, the one that you're drawn to. You fight for the thing that you're drawn to fighting for. And you participate. You participate in your own life. And when you participate, you do your, in the Hindu sense, you're doing your duty. You're doing what you're supposed to do, and that's a very different worldview. It took me a long time, relatively. I was sort of studying this stuff in my 20s and even 30s. I don't think we're here to win. I think we come out on the other side and we look at the guys who were playing, the enemy, and we sort of go, "You were really good." You know, like watching Robert De Niro at the end of a movie where he's the villain. You go, "Man, you were really great as the villain." And you go, "Well, you played the hero really well. That was really good." And you sort of go, "Okay, you want to do it again? We'll switch roles."
Do you believe in good and evil, Ben?
I believe in good and evil here on Earth. I believe that people do evil. I believe you can become evil through lack of compassion. Yeah.
So what is?
Well,
go on.
Go ahead, Christine.
So
no, I was going to.
You go. You go. Your turn. Okay. All right. So I'm just curious. Then, what then? So is that your version of God then? Just this world that's not like really real? And I mean, do you have a belief in God or any higher power? Because I was, I like the Darwin chapter. That was one of my favorite ones in your book. And you don't really seem like you fit on the like the disempowering, dogmatic, religious side, or either the Darwinist, like atheist belief system. So
atheists are religious. Their
belief is non-belief.
Yeah, well, the religion of atheism is that there is no Yahweh, which is really boring because that's like saying that acorns do or do not exist. It's a one-pointed argument. It's a single-pointed meditation, but it's in the negative. So everything that Darwinists see, they see as in the negative sense, that there can be no... And because they're fighting against the Judeo-Christian, essentially late Middle Eastern religion of the Levant of the 2,000 or 3,000s BC, their worldview is trapped there. Their science is actually... a counter, right? It's a contrapuntal argument. It's not really science; it's the science of negation. Life can have no purpose or value. It has to be a mistake because Christians have to be wrong about everything. Well, congratulations! You've just argued yourself into the bottom of a sock. God for me is not what John Lennon said. It's not a concept by which you measure your pain. He was a fine one to talk, heroin addict, and just total mess of a human being. I understand why he said that or sung it or wrote it, because Christianity makes slaves of a lot of people. So I'm not Christian. I think, as the ancients say, the name of God that you say is not the true name of God. I'm naturally inclined to be a polytheist. I believe the energies of the universe manifest in our mythic imaginations as all sorts of things. I'm proven right all the time because we're always worshiping gods. The Avengers is the most successful movie of the summer. It'll be Spider-Man in a couple of weeks. It was Thor. It was so on. We're constantly worshiping gods. Batman is Mars. He's the god of war. We are still a polytheistic species. Christianity is polytheistic. They have Mary, Jesus, Yahweh, or what they call God sometimes. They have the New Testament God, who's a very different God. They have the archangels and saints. They have a whole panoply. They have the ancient... whatever it was, I can't remember the name, but the Greeks had on the top of the triangular top of their buildings, they had in relief the gods ascending to the mother and father god and then to the lesser ones. We still do the same thing. And I believe that that's true.
The pyramid.
Yeah, I believe that polytheism is true in as much as we know it's a myth, but that the energies of the universe that they represent are real to us. And manifest in a literal, mythic, dreamlike sense in our world. Now, that's a very esoteric answer, but I could direct you to read Alan Watts and the other Eastern Westerners like Joseph Campbell and so on.
No, I know that. I agree with you. Yeah, I do. I think Joseph Campbell.
There's a guy, I put this friend on Facebook, he's like a libertarian, kind of one of those kind of guys, and he is an atheist, and he posted this thing the other day about how most scientists, I don't know where he got this number, the percentage of like 98% of scientists are atheists. And I said, well, yeah, I mean, I didn't respond actually because I didn't want to get into an argument, but I was thinking to myself that, well, yeah, but they sure are dogmatic in their religious beliefs of whatever X science that they believe in sometimes. Yeah. I mean, and then that's really what you talk about in your book. I mean, believing in black holes or believing in vaccination or believing in all these things that they believe in a dogmatic way because they really actually have no proof that these things exist or that they work, but then they continue to believe in it like a god or like they don't call it God. They call it something else.
It's just different terminologies for the same thing, basically.
Right. It's still believing in something that they cannot prove.
Yeah.
And that does or does not exist, or does or does not work, is or is not effective. And it's so call it what you want, but it's call yourself yourself an atheist because you don't believe in a god, but you
believe in the Judeo-Christian God of the Levant of 2500. 3,500, 1,500 BC. Well, good for you. The people who call themselves atheists, it's not like they go and do a cross-cultural spiritual journeys to find out if there's any resilient energy in the universe or energy form that's intelligent. They just reject Catholicism. Good. Reject Catholicism. It's boring. It really is. Yeah. Reject it all day long, but then move on. Find something else. The problem with the sciences right now is that they live in that negative space. So we live for a reductionist species. We think that by injecting people with poison, we can actually make them healthy. We think that by saying that life has no mind, which is Darwinism. Darwinism says there is no mind at work or order. We live in an ordered mind, clearly creative universe. It's clearly it's as creative as we are. We're only a manifestation of it. So to say the universe isn't creative is to say that we're nothing. It's ridiculous.
You know what? Actually, I want to ask you. Do you think that there was some sort of conspiracy to kind of disempower human beings and conceal their true power? Because you think that, like Darwin and his people were intentionally trying to unenlighten people? Or do you think that they were just kind of basking in the rays of their non-existent intelligence or just full of it? Do you think that they,
I don't. Darwin was sincere. I mean, as far as I can tell, Charles Darwin was sincere. He was actually following his grandfather, Erasmus Darwin, and other researchers at the time, like Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, and even the Comte de Buffon is a French guy. And they were all trying to place all of what was now becoming a large, again, panoply of visible life forms in an ordered system. This comes about versus the creationist argument and then the uniformitarian argument. Creationist argument says that everything happened at once. The uniformitarian argument says it's never really changed much. And what they were seeing was that there had been radical changes. Things had changed. There were bones of animals that never existed. They probably saw some animals getting hunted to extinction. And he was probably genuinely trying to order these things. The problem that Darwin made was he suggested, and this became, quote, fact, first thing I learned, right? Facts change. Facts are allowed to change if it's said by the elite. What's true yesterday isn't true today. But what Darwin did was he said that life it comes about through slow, successive, and accidental, he didn't use the word random, but accidental changes. To say that all of life is an accident is to say that, silica binds itself into geometric spiraling patterns by accident. It doesn't happen by accident. It happens through an ordered, I would say, creative process. It was genuine and sincere, but it was also some people would argue that Huxley, I'm going to forget the first name. It was the grandfather Huxley, not Julian or Aldous.
Aldous,
right.
But it was grandfather. Anyway, they were going to say that these guys really had a political agenda, and that political agenda was to destroy any power left by the clergy, and so that the two became bedfellows, and so on and so forth. really believe in. I think that we're a tribal species. I think that we create new myths all the time, and that because we're a culture without any real presiding myths, without any rites of passage, without any meaningful holidays or holy days, we invent myths all the time. So bird flu is a myth, swine flu is a myth, accidental evolution is a myth, and people defend it like they defend a religious concept. So that's my answer is loosely that we're built to be self-deceptive. We're actually built for it. We don't have to work hard to deceive ourselves.
Well, it seems that the people that you talked about in your book, when in the HIV chapter, for example, and Robert Gallo, I mean, these people are very self-serving. Like, they didn't necessarily, or I don't get the sense that they necessarily were out to kill a bunch of people per se, but they didn't really care because it was their career and they wanted to have glory and money and all that. And so that's kind of, I don't know if that's the case with Darwin, but it's probably different for everybody in different situations. But, I mean, Louis Pasteur and I think some of these guys kind of were, or even Jonas Salk, you know, they were looking for something to make them famous or make them important. I mean, would you say that's true, Liam, or what? Does that kind of give you the...
I was eating some cake. Go ahead. Did you say something?
It was a carrot.
It was delicious. You know what it was? It was a vegan. I hate the word vegan more than almost any word.
Really?
I hate that word.
I don't like the ring to it.
I like exactly what you just said, April. Yes, I totally agree. I couldn't have said it any really. Yes, self-serving, self-aggrandizing, buttering their crumpets, watching their backsides, right?
Yeah, exactly. So this dessert thing, I don't know. Every time I talk to Liam, it's either carrot cake or strawberry shortcake or orange julienne.
Oh, I hate strawberries.
What kind? Or kind of a mochaccino. You know what? Just go ahead. Get me in trouble.
You do that for yourself. Yeah. So yeah.
I want a chai spiced. What are we talking about? Food or?
You tell me. You're the one with all the names. So I'm just saying, you know, it's carrot cake or
chai. I want a chai mocha. No mocha. I want a chai latte. Chai latte. That's what I want.
Chai latte.
Yeah.
With soy milk.
I really.
No, I'll have coconut. No.
Coconut milk's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So
back to whatever we were talking about.
Whatever we were talking about. So Liam, next week we have in your book you talked about HPV and not talking about another myth. And HPV does not cause cervical cancer, or human papillomavirus does not cause cervical cancer. We have a girl coming next week who was affected very severely by the Gardasil vaccine, which is the commercial name for the HPV vaccine. I mean, we did a pre-interview with her last week, and it's pretty bad. I mean, it's devastating. It is. And you know,
infuriating, devastating.
And what was interesting about talking to her is this young woman is she's 19, but it gives a voice for someone like my son who doesn't speak, and because he was damaged when he was too little. He was not even 2 years old yet, so he wasn't really even talking yet. And so these kids with autism, it kind of gave me some insight, listening to her and what she was going through, on what some of these kids like my son are dealing with as far as the vaccine damage. And she's anyway. So tell us about HPV. So HPV does not cause cervical cancer. What is it? What does it do?
Well, let's bring in our very special guest, HPV. Come in. Hey, ladies.
So, HPV, what are you?
Well, I like to affix myself to parts of your body.
Oh no, that's terrible.
Mm-hmm. But you can get rid of me with a good diet. It's cleansing.
I think I would eat some carrot cake then.
Mm-hmm.
So HPV.
I'm just an HPV. I'm only an HPV.
So HPV, so why is everyone so afraid of you, HPV? Why do they all think you're going to cause cancer?
Money. They decided to make money based on my questionable reputation.
Interesting. So HPV.
How it goes in the book too.
Yeah.
It's a puppet show. Okay, they've been looking. It really comes out. Okay, bye HPV. Thanks, Liam. We'll bring you back. HPV is a human papillomavirus. It can cause warts. Doesn't always. Usually is. Even the mainstream says cleared from the body. Cleared from the body. Again, almost all the time, body clears it. Doesn't cause cancer. Is present when warts are happening. But what else is happening when warts are happening is you have some suppressed immunity or this, that, or the other thing. When I was a kid and I had eczema, I had suppressed immunity for a variety of reasons. I don't have it anymore. I don't have that problem anymore. So all of these things manifest when your immune system is being battered, your guts are being punched, have little holes punched in them, and your blood is sticky and inflamed and toxic. HPV was blamed for cancer because of what happened in the AIDS realm. Robert Gallo decided that he was among the group of people who decided to try to make a killing, a lot of money, by proving that a virus caused cancer. Because if you could say that cancer were contagious, you could sell vaccines to everybody for the rest of their lives, and you just won. But cancer is not you don't sneeze and get cancer, but cancer is multifactorial, toxicological. It has most to do with your environment over time. Nobody is immune from a bad environment, and you can't take a vaccine or a pill against a bad environment. So what happened was that he decided that monkeys, the sex trade, and Africa were always to blame. So in 1981, he said that there was a group of people who had a cancer, and that he was going to blame a virus. Well, he didn't actually find a virus. He found an enzyme. He said it was good enough to find the enzyme. It wasn't, and he knew it, but whatever. That's what he said. He said that the enzyme represented a virus, and the virus caused cancer in a very, very small percentage of people after 50 years. What? Yeah, okay. Never mind the 50 years, but who were the people? The people happened to be Japanese people living near Nagasaki. So the proof that a virus caused cancer came from something called HTLV1, which Robert Gallo says is a virus that caused cancer, and a very, very, I think a reasonable estimate would be less than 1% or fewer than 1% of people who test positive for his non-virus virus get leukemia. But it's not the non-virus virus. It's that they live in and around Nagasaki, where the nuclear bomb was dropped. Yeah. Now, you live in an area with some radioactive debris or residue for 50 years. Getting a leukemia is not really out of the question. And that 50-year, 40-year, latent period, that's what they invented to make the argument that virus caused cancer, because otherwise you can't make it. But what happens in 40 or 50 years of your life? Everything. What are you eating? What are you exposed to? Are you breathing asbestos? Or do you have lead in your paint? Do you have arsenic in the walls? Where are you living? How are you living? All of those
emotional too. Do you believe it?
Spiritual and emotional.
Yeah, emotional. Yeah.
Were you
completely
as a child?
moral.
No. Were you traumatized as a child? Do you continue to live that trauma on the inside? You can give yourself multiple sclerosis. You can give yourself major neurological disorders and immune disorders by continuing cycles of abuse internally.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how they got to HPV. Because Robert Gallo, if you look in the Wikipedia, which I call the CIA fact book, it's approved of for public consumption. If you go there and you look up HTLV1, it will tell you that it's the first cancer virus, and everything else that I just said in these Japanese population, spread through sex, comes from Africa through the slave trade. Does that sound familiar? Africa, slave trade, monkeys, sex. Well, what's the next thing he invented? HTLV3. HTLV3 was not a name that you could sell people on, so they just renamed the thing that wasn't there and called it HIV. It's not an it. It's a bunch of laboratory garbage. So HPV lives in that wheelhouse. It actually rides on HTLV1. If anybody examined HTLV1 and said, it doesn't make sense that the virus that causes leukemia doesn't cause leukemia 99.something% of the time and only after 50 years and people exposed to nuclear fallout, then you'd also say that HPV doesn't cause cancer. And the mainstream, by the way, will go you one better, say that they're really only looking at women in their 50s and 60s who've had very questionable health, lives of lack of good health, impoverished lives, often prostitutes and drug users, And then they say, well, you must have had HPV when you were 12 because you're 90 and you have cervical cancer.
Oh, my God. Hey, because you're doing all this research and stuff on like vaccines and diseases and stuff, and you come from a family of doctors. Is your family, or have they like marked you for death?
Yes, they've marked me for. We don't talk. We're not close. I talk to some of them. But I don't not talk to them because I do this work. I don't hang out with most of them because I never had much in common with them. And I'm not slighting them all as people. They're probably some really nice people who you'd have a good time being their friend or this or that if you were like them. But I'm not of them. I'm not a reductionist. I just was never them. Just one of those things.
I get it. That's cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, this whole, I don't understand this whole HPV thing, how this is happening. I mean, it's frustrating to me sometimes because I wonder how we get here, and then these children are being so severely damaged, dying, and being just disabled for their lives and having all these terrible problems with neurological, physical, immune system problems. And then, what was it, like a year ago, Liam, we did that, or you interviewed me in that article where we talked about how here in California they're letting kids vaccinate without their parents' consent for HPV at the age of 12. I mean, that's already happening, even though the law was supposed to go into effect this July. The kids are already doing it. I mean, I throw this out to both of you guys because I don't really know what to make of all this, is how we're going to kind of see our way out of this. How are these kids going to become aware that that they can't do this, that this is going to hurt them?
They're not. That's the answer. They're not. Let's not worry about. It's not all going to get better. They're not. A lot of people will be damaged, and a lot of people will wake up. The harder they press the boot, though, the more people begin to squirm. So even though it's terrible, it's still it does wake people up. But again, my worldview isn't that it's going to get better. And by April, by the time, if we live long, natural lives, the world's going to look like a completer disaster by the time we're old. And we'll say, but this is happening and it's good, and this is happening and it's good, and we'll say, but this is happening and it's bad, and this is the world. Yeah. So it continues to be Maya, samsara, the veil of tears and the play of energy.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just always this struggle. So when Virstyne, you're asking about like good and evil, it's kind of always that. We're battling, I think, good and evil aspects. I can't foresee this thing kind of working out well at first, but like you say, maybe people will start to wake up as the more and more kids take this and then get damaged. And I mean, the thing that's troublesome is that the parents won't know what's going on if the kid didn't tell them. Yeah. That's what's really troubling. And then why would they tell them? Why would they say, yeah, I got vaccinated for this STD vaccine because I want to go out and have sex, right? Yeah. They're not going to tell them. And so hopefully, I don't know.
Well, that's why I'm going to India next year. I want to see the world through a different perspective than the Judeo-Christian Puritan thing that we've all been inculcated with, this infection that we have where, HPV, like HIV, is just another commandment. It's just a way to impose sexual morality on a culture that has excused itself from having any sexual morality. That's the chapter 6. I talk about the introduction of the birth control. Really, the summer of love is really the summer of pharma. And this is not a point, I don't think I can overstress this. We live in a culture that is totally sociologically machined by pharmaceuticals. Mm-hmm. I was able to have sex at will with girls, depending if we wanted to or not, because of drugs. I didn't even think of it that way, but they were on drugs. Yeah. I didn't have to think about having a kid because they were on drugs. Yeah. That's a difference. That's a change in the human architecture, the architecture of human psychology over the millennia. So we're in a very different place all of a sudden, all at once. We don't have myths to deal with it. HPV is a sexual behavior myth because we don't have rites of passage for 12-year-old girls or boys. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just very contradictory sort of message to young children. It's like this, they don't want to tell their parents that they're thinking of having sex. So there's that whole Judeo-Christian kind of don't chastity belt, don't do it, or, hear no evil, see no evil. But then of course they're being kind of coaxed by the pharmaceutical industry or, their teachers and their government and this and that. So let's teach you all about this, and we're going to give you something that's going to protect you so you can go out and do it safely. And so they have this myth or this idea, this illusion that they're going to be safe, and, so then that kind of encourages them on that level. But then now they're being told, okay, well, you don't have to tell your parents, shh. So that it's that contradiction. Wouldn't you say, like, this is sort of that Judeo-Christian model, like, of trying to pretend your kids won't have sex or that they don't have sex, rather than just being open about it and saying, let's talk about it and keep it in the family. And, and then the parents, they were oppressed. They weren't able to talk about it with their friends. I never talked about it with my parents, never. So, but they were oppressed by their own parents, and so they didn't end up talking to their kids, and then that's how it goes, and so is the cycle.
Yeah, well, I had an idea a number of years ago to write a book, which I will write, about the basic nature of human beings, and it's funny, because you write it, and it's like you're writing a book about the essential nature of human beings. Who do you think you are? But I just decided that if I could collect sort of 8 or 9 basic qualities, resilient, immortal qualities of us as a species, I would at least enjoy it. It's a little academic, but then you come up with examples. So one of them is that we're tribal. We're definitely tribal. We always align tribally. We do it at Nike and Adidas, of course, darker skin, lighter skin, Coke and Pepsi, Mac and IBM, and all these other things. And as a tribal species, we always have rules and rites of passage, and we have these areas where we have an introduction to death. And in ancient societies, they used to introduce death to people through ceremonies where they would, as teens or young people, scare the bejesus out of them. They would set them up for some terrible fear because death was a part of life. And they needed, in a way, to give them some inoculation against the actual event, to almost prepare them. It's a funny argument. Inoculation, too, was something ancients practiced, but they did it differently. They didn't open the body and put in fresh, bloody, infectious liquid. They dried material in the sun and let it become disinfected and then would expose it. So it's a very different process. We don't have any of these things tribally. We cut the body. We're reductionists. We live in a machine world. We believe that the universe is a wind-up dead machine, as Rene Descartes believed, that animals can be experimented on and that their cries are nothing more than the squeaking of wheels. We live in a very strange time. I don't think society is going to get better as a whole. I think that we have enough oil and we have enough energy to keep this disaster going for until you and I are gone. I know there'll be shocks to the system, but we're not there yet, and I don't think we're not going to burst into an age of Aquarius. But I don't think we have to. I think that's the other myth. We used to recognize that we were tribal, and we were more or less okay with that. And we were okay with not liking everybody. Like, we don't like that tribe, and we don't like that tribe. But now we all have to pretend that we like each other. And we don't. And we don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I don't like I don't like a lot of different kinds. I make fun of a lot of different kinds. And I don't hate them. I just, whatever. Yeah. I'm not like you. I was on a radio show earlier, and I was talking. There was a Paleolithic diet guy, and I said, if these guys are serious, they'd stop shopping at the grocery store altogether. I really can't take any of these guys seriously. They want me to eat meat all the time, but if instead of catching the small animals that they would actually catch, like small game, pheasants, rabbit, birds, they want you to go to the grocery store and buy the largest, heaviest animals, which definitely are not good for you. They want to tell you how good it is for you. Like, give me a break. So I don't know. People lie to themselves in a variety of ways, but the tribal thing goes through. Even though it seems like I'm rambling, what you were saying about why do we do this? When do we do this? We have to, if you want to have sanity in your life, you have to find the group of people that you can form a tribal identification with. And I think the Ron Paul people do that for each other. And even though I'm not Ron Paul crazy, I would vote for him and I wouldn't vote for anybody else. Because I think that what we have to recognize is that we do have this ancient human species, these qualities. We want to be surrounded by people who we really honestly get along with, and we should be pretty satisfied with that. Pluralism doesn't mean we get along with everybody. It means we tolerate people outside of our group not being on the inside. Yeah. That's my political belief. You do what you want and leave me the alone, the F word alone.
Exactly.
You can say frack on here.
Frack.
Leave me the frack.
Leave me the frackali. Yeah, frack.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, well, on that note, we are out of time, guys.
And on that note,
it's been a lot of fun talking to Liam
Long Strange
here on Truth or Time.
So where can we get your book, Liam? Or where can other people get your book? Because we got it, so.
We already have
it. All right. All right, my gorgeous hosts, you can get it at online. The online thing. The book is called Official Stories, Counter-Arguments for a Culture in Need. The author is Liam Scheff or Liam Scheff. Go to my website, liamscheff.com. It's a big thing on the right. It says Official Stories. Click it. Go to Amazonio.com around the world. You can get it there. You can go to the Create space. Just look for Official Stories online. It's at a very reasonable price. It's $15 before shipping, and on Amazon it's $17.80 because you can get free shipping, if you have an Amazon thing going on. New books come out and they're $25 to $30 these days, and I decided to hover around the $15 mark.
Oh, that's a really good. Yeah, it is a really good price. No, but that's smart though. I mean, it's a good price, so people are going to buy it more. And we also have you were in the inspiration for our newest shirt, Conspiracy Realist.
Yes.
I mentioned at the beginning of the show, and it's going to be available for purchase at www.truthertees.com. And Liam's going to be at the Health Freedom Expo this weekend, Chicago. What you going to be talking about?
I'm ornithology. I'm a big closet bird, also philately. That's stamp collecting and bird watch. I'm going to talk about the HIV/AIDS matrix. I'm going to talk about the vaccine AIDS matrix and how the one industry created the other, and how they've taken advantage of all of our malleable psyches.
Our souls, basically.
Unholy unions, just like that.
Yeah.
Government, same thing.
All right, sexy beast.